In this video, my take on this very unique adventure book for D&D 5th edition, Candlekeep Mysteries. My name is Nate, and you are watching WASD20, a channel about tabletop RPGs and fantasy maps. Now, this video is not sponsored, but I do have an Amazon affiliate link to this book and a bunch of other cool stuff down in the video description. And when you buy through those links, a small portion of the profits does go to help support the channel at no extra cost to you. But enough of that, let's crack open Candlekeep Mysteries and take a look. So here we have it. This book is an anthology of 17 mystery-themed adventures. The back of the book actually gives a nice little description here and says, each adventure begins with the discovery of a book, and each book is the key to a door behind which danger and glory await. The common through line in these, it is not a campaign, right? It's not going to have an ongoing story in that way, but there is that common starting point of a book. And that book is found in the library called Candlekeep, which is just a giant city/library on the Sword Coast in Faerun. And it's a really cool place. I actually learned a lot from this section here that gives an introduction to Candlekeep. I knew a little bit because I'm playing in a Descent into Avernus campaign, and we happened to stop in Candlekeep for a session or so. But I learned a lot here, and my takeaway is, man, this place is cool. It's just an inspirational place, and I like the idea of a Candlekeep being pretty much in any fantasy setting. So of course you could just slot that into your own homebrew world and use these books that are found in Candlekeep as these launching points into various adventures and mysteries. The first section here just kind of gives a big overview, and I wish there was more is my big thing with this right here. I wish there were more detailed descriptions of these quests, because this is just like the very basic story and not enough for me to make a really informed decision at a glance about, which one of these might I want to run. Some of them do have adventure summaries, and I really appreciate that. For example, this one for 4th level adventurers has an adventure overview, and it even has a series of events. But most of the adventures I found do not have that. And that's something that I wish were standard, because it's nice for you to be able to read this and possibly even get some information somewhere, whether that's here or whether that's here, about what kinds of things the players will be doing in this mystery. Is it going to be a lot of puzzle solving? Is there going to be a fair amount of combat? Is it all in one location? Does it span several locations? Does it take place in a dungeon or whatever? All that stuff would be really nice to get at a glance so that you can make an informed decision about which adventures might be best suited to your group. Instead, I found myself going through the book and basically skimming all of them just to try to get a feel for what this is, and trying to look at the sorts of monsters and things like that and the different environments. And anyway, it would be nice to get more information at a glance is the point. Now, I really do like this book, but one other minor complaint I have is in the Candlekeep chapter here, they just have about a third of the map of Candlekeep. The full map is in the back of the book here. There's a full fold-out poster map, which I actually don't have. I left it at work today because I brought my book to work. But as you're reading about locations here in the Candlekeep section, it would just be nice to have the map reference right there, so that when I'm reading about the Great Library or Exaltation, I can actually find those places on the map. Now, the adventures themselves span many different levels, which is really nice, and the levels do imply that you're not just going to be solving mysteries here. There are still Dungeons and Dragons adventures. You're still going to be fighting monsters and having to, overcome various obstacles of all sorts. But if you are a fan of kind of the traditional just dungeon crawls, we kill things and get loot, then this book is probably not for you, because a lot of the adventures, and this first one right here is a good example, have a lot of puzzles and just different things to kind of tinker with and try to figure out, how are we going to get out of this room? How are we going to get into this next space? What is the key to opening up this book or this cabinet and things like that? The first one here actually takes place in a big old mansion, and this one is called The Joy of Extra-Dimensional Spaces. And that's another point I'll make, is that a lot of these do take place or will have opportunities for players to go into extra dimensional spaces, which are all over Candlekeep. So this one does have you fighting a few things. There's this swarm of animated books. This one is very kind of like Haunted Mansion themed here. Well, not even Haunted Mansion, but just crazy things going on, things coming to life. The chained library is an interesting encounter here. And at the end of the adventure, I found it kind of odd that the main guy you're looking for in this adventure actually he's already dead. You don't have a chance. So there's some definite things that I would tweak, and I just find that to be true across all of the D&D adventures I read. Is, you know, they're not going to be perfect. There's going to be some things that I'm going to want to tweak, and I don't take that as too big a knock against the adventures, honestly. I just figure that whatever I'm reading, that's always just going to be the case. Some people say, why would I buy that if I have to tweak anything? I think that's just part of being a dungeon master. You're going to tweak some things. These books provide good frameworks for adventures, and you want to tailor them to your group, I think. But the mysteries here are really interesting. Some of them get pretty dark, I'll say that. I really love this one right here because of this handout map. Really cool. Love that sort of thing. I wish there were a few more of those sorts of props throughout the book. Most of the maps are very simple, but totally sufficient. And there is some good art in the book. I do like a lot of the art. These kind of spooky scenes, very evocative, and lots of cool environments. So in terms of the actual mysteries, some of them are really like tough mysteries that will require a lot of work to solve. Others of them kind of reveal themselves fairly quickly, and then, you know, you just have to go find the person or kill the monster or whatever it might be. So there's a pretty good variety, and overall I really like the stories. I really like that kind of core element of the book. Because the books themselves are really fascinating. The stories about how they got donated to the library, what they do, a lot of them are very powerful artifacts in themselves. And then the stories the actual adventures tell themselves are, for the most part, really interesting. I like them a lot. Some of them are much more whimsical and fun. Some of them are really dark and kind of horror themed. So just be aware of that you know, there's some dark stuff in here, definitely, that is not going to be for every group. And for example, a lot of these adventures are not the sorts of adventures that I would use for my 12-year-old son and his friends when I run games for them. One thing of note is there is a lot of box text, the read aloud text here. I really appreciate that. That just makes my life so much easier as a dungeon master. I know there are some people that don't like it, but personally, I really like having that. It just makes things a little more fluid at the table for me. I think one of the bigger questions I have with the book is kind of how to fit these in. How would I actually introduce this to my players? A lot of them are pretty ham-fisted and just kind of like, I don't know, don't they make that much sense? Like this first one, for example, the players are on a mission to find out if there is this sage that can help their village or their area because crops have failed and the livestock are suffering and all this stuff. And so they go and they find instead this book that leads them to find this person they're looking for, but he's already dead. This one is just kind of like you're hanging out at Candlekeep and one of the avowed approaches you with this book and a quest. This one right here says the characters in Candlekeep might uncover this book while researching any of the following topics. I'm sorry, I just don't run a campaign where my players are going to be researching many of these topics. So anyway, so a lot of them personally, I'm not going to try to slot into a campaign necessarily. Dungeon Masters can figure out ways to do that. We're smart, inventive people, and we can figure that out. So I guess we don't need too much, but it would be nice to have just a few more ideas. Ultimately, when I'm running these, it's probably going to be something where I just do introduce it like that. You and your party happen to be at the library researching such and such. And, you know, I can maybe let them decide why were they there, what would have brought their character there, and then we can just jump into the mystery, and it wouldn't be that big a deal, I think, to introduce them that way. So I realize I'm not giving you a ton of information about the actual adventures, but there are 17 of them, and that would take a while. So just trust me when I say there's some good variety here, there's some fun encounters, and some really cool stories. So while the book is far from perfect, overall, I'm pretty happy with it. All right, that's going to do it for my review, but I would love to hear from you as well. Leave your comments or questions down below. And before we go, I do want to thank the WASD20 patrons as well. Patrons are people who support the channel on a monthly basis, and they get some pretty cool rewards as well. Things like weekly live map drawing streams with me, or campaign diaries where I reflect on my ongoing D&D campaign. So if you enjoy my videos and want to support, check it all out over at patreon.com/WASD20. Thanks, patrons, and thank you all for watching this video. Take care, everybody. You'll see me again very soon.